Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're digging into something called the architecture of flight. We're looking at a pretty challenging idea, actually. What if the things we think protect us, our boundaries, our careful plans, even what we call self-preservation, what if that's not really wisdom? What if it's, well, panic dressed up as maturity?
It's this illusion of protection, yeah. And what's really striking is just how common it is. We genuinely think we're being strong or, setting necessary limits, doing the right thing when we use these mechanisms. But if you really look closely, beneath the story we tell ourselves, the body's reaction is, well, it's pure escape.
And that escape starts physically, doesn't it? In the nervous system. Like imagine you're standing right on the edge of a crumbling cliff. What happens? Your stomach clenches, your breath gets short, vision tunnels. You freeze up, right? Ready for something desperate.
Exactly. That's the physical reality of danger breathing down your neck. But here's the fascinating part the sources highlight. The brain treats psychological threats, like being publicly shamed, losing face, having your core beliefs torn apart. It reacts in the exact same way.
Oh, how? How does the brain mix those up?
Yeah.
A literal cliff edge and, say, a tough question in a meeting.
Because the underlying signal feels the same. It's exposure, it's vulnerability, potential harm. The amygdala, that ancient part of the brain, it doesn't really pause to ask, is this a rock slide or just Bob from accounting asking about the TPS reports?
Yeah.
It just screams, danger, run, hide. And if we can't physically run,
Right.
we build walls inside. We armor up.
Right. Which brings us to what we're trying to do in this deep dive. We're not so much focused on why we feel vulnerable, but more on how. How does our awareness, our actual consciousness, rearrange itself to make that escape happen? We're looking at the blueprint of the run, basically.
Precisely. And maybe let's start with the visual side of it. Because that metaphor, the psychological armor, it's so visceral. Think about a medieval knight, full plate armor. It's incredible protection, isn't it? An arrow just bounces off. He looks invincible.
Invincible, yeah, but totally cut off. That's the trade-off, right? What can't he do in all that metal?
He can't really connect with life. He can't feel the warmth of the sun or react quickly if he needs to jump aside. He certainly can't hug someone. Imagine laughing inside that helmet, just this muffled, maybe scary echo.
Yeah.
Or crying, it just hits the steel. The protection is total, but so is the isolation.
And that's the kind of plating we wear psychologically. You mentioned it's not like a conscious choice, I shall now forge my armor. It gets assembled bit by bit, often when we're young, feeling exposed or shamed. What are some everyday examples? What might we be wearing?
Oh, they're often quite subtle, almost invisible sometimes. There's the cynical joke that pops out just before real feeling can surface, or being relentlessly productive so there's never a quiet time to feel how tired you really are. Perfectionism is a big one, trying to be flawless so no one can ever criticize you.
And the classic phrase that just shuts everything down, I'm fine. We wear these bits of armor and we call it being professional or mature or just adulting successfully.
And here's the cruel twist, the real irony. The more layers of armor you add, the safer you might feel, maybe. But the reality is you become more isolated, more numb, more rigid. We mistake that stiffness for strength and being cut off for being mature. But really, we're just trapped, separated from real contact and ultimately from feeling alive.
Okay, so if the armor is the result, the sort of physical manifestation of this separation, we need to get into the mechanism. How does it get built? And this is where Gestalt ideas about perception come in, right? Defense isn't really a conscious strategy.
No, absolutely not. Very rarely is it a deliberate choice like planning a chess move. It's more like an automatic, instantaneous rearranging of your perceptual field. This is central to Gestalt thinking. We see the world in terms of figure what's sharp, in focus, right in front of us, and ground the blurry background context.
Okay, figure and ground. That makes sense.
Yeah.
We're trying to avoid feeling that raw fear, that vulnerability. So when that feeling surges up, whether the threat is real or just imagined, how does the mind rearrange things to push the feeling away?
Well, the mind basically shoves the difficult thing, that raw, shaky fear. It pushes it out of the spotlight into the fuzzy background of your awareness. It becomes not really me or not the important thing right now. It gets demoted to ground.
The fear gets pushed to the background. Something has to take its place in the foreground, right? Something has to become the new figure.
Exactly. Something else has to pop up to keep things feeling stable, to maintain that sense of equilibrium. And that new figure is the reaction, the posture, the substitute. It could be analyzing the pain intellectually or pulling away emotionally, becoming cold, or maybe that sharp cutting remark. The source material has a great phrase for one type, the spiritual platitude. That saying that lets you float above the messy feeling.
Ah, so we're not actually defending against the fear, we're swapping it out for performance.
Mm.
We trade being present with the feeling for a kind of managed act.
Yeah.
But the original feeling, it hasn't vanished. It's still there, humming away in the background.
It's absolutely still there, vibrating, waiting. And this is where the mistaken identity comes in. Because the reaction is now the main event. The figure, the person starts to identify with that, not the fear underneath. That's why we hear people say, maybe we even say it ourselves, oh, I'm just a direct person, or I just need my space, or I don't really do emotions. We start believing the posture is who we are.
But you said perception isn't like a camera just recording what's there. It's active, like sculpting. So what are we sculpting? Are we aiming for truth or just calm?
We're sculpting stability. In this defensive mode, perception's main job isn't really about finding truth or being authentic. It's about maintaining equilibrium, keeping things feeling steady, even if it's a brittle kind of steadiness. The mind rearranges reality to hide the scary bits, no matter how much vitality or aliveness that costs us in the long run.
Feels like putting a patch on a leak, but the pressure keeps building. A temporary fix with, potentially huge long-term costs.
It is, and this connects directly to those long-term patterns we see. The mind finds an open gestalt, like an unresolved tension, that raw, unmet fear. It finds it almost unbearable. There's this deep, almost biological urge for closure. It's called pregnance, this tendency to see things in the simplest, most complete, most stable way possible.
So tension is too much. We can't handle it through direct contact, through feeling it. So we force closure by substituting something else.
Precisely. We swap the raw feeling for a controlled reaction. I'm not scared, I'm just analyzing the situation. Or, I'm not hurt, I'm just busy. The immediate tension drops. Phew. The mind feels like it's closed the loop, achieved a kind of artificial calm, but the original fear, that first open gestalt, it's still there, fundamentally unfinished.
And because it's unfinished, it doesn't just fade away. It keeps knocking, demanding attention somehow.
It keeps coming back, often in disguise. The pattern digs itself deeper. Next time, maybe the rationalization is quicker, the withdrawal is more complete, the psyche is desperately trying to finish something that was never properly met in the first place. But it keeps running into the same wall of avoidance, making the armor thicker with each attempt.
That feeling of exhaustion, it really comes through in that metaphor you mentioned, the glass of water one. It shows exactly where the energy drain is.
It's such a simple but incredibly profound image from the sources. Imagine holding a glass filled with everything you're terrified of feeling, maybe shame, deep sadness, raw anger. You grip it tightly, lock your elbow, tense your shoulders, hold it rigidly against your chest. And you call this holding it together.
You're not spilling it, you're not dealing with it, you're just holding. And the actual content, the water, the fear itself,
Yep.
maybe it's not even that heavy.
The fear, the water might be surprisingly light, but the weight, the crushing exhaustion comes entirely from the holding. It comes from the constant resistance, the vigilance, the tension in the armor needed to not feel it. It's not the water that's dictating your life. It's the nonstop effort of not dropping the glass that controls every move, every breath. You can't relax, you can't connect fully. Your life becomes organized around the holding.
Wow. Okay. So the exhaustion is from the rigidity of the defense, not the intensity of the feeling itself. It's a really crucial distinction. And that exhaustion, that kind of leads us to the deeper, maybe philosophical layer of why we build these defenses in the first place.
It does. It points towards something bigger than just our personal histories or traumas. It suggests we're armoring up against the very nature of being human, against the sheer possibility of our own unfolding, our own becoming. This echoes Kierkegaard's famous insight. Anxiety is the dizziness of freedom.
That hits hard.
Yeah.
The dizziness of freedom. So we're not just running from bad situations out there. We're running from this terrifying wide open space inside us. The freedom to actually choose, to speak our truth, to just be without any guarantees.
Exactly. We armor ourselves against that fundamental uncertainty, that dizziness. We might choose the known prison of the heavy armor over the terrifying, vertigo-inducing possibility of our own potential. We freeze up, call it self-control, but maybe we're just running from the beautiful, scary chaos of being truly alive.
Okay, so if the core problem is this perceptual trick, rearranging reality to hide the scary feeling, then the way out can't just be trying harder to be brave, can it? It has to be about shifting attention, a kind of perceptual courage.
It has to involve reversing that figure ground shift we talked about. The path forward isn't about more willpower or fighting fear like some kind of warrior. It's about the willingness to stop the substitution game, to actually allow the fear, just for a moment, to become a figure again, to tolerate the discomfort of it being there, unresolved, unfinished.
how do we even begin to do that? How do you practice that kind of courage when every cell is screaming, retreat, or analyze it?
Through what the sources called true contact. And it's defined quite specifically. Contact isn't about solving the fear or fixing it or even understanding it intellectually right away. It's simply presence without an agenda, just allowing the fear to be perceived as it is, noticing its texture, its temperature, its weight, its edges, without immediately trying to push it away or manage it into submission. You stop trying to build a bridge over the scary moment, you just stay put and notice what's actually there.
And when that happens, when you manage that sustained contact, the insight doesn't come from thinking harder, but from perception itself shifting. Like when an optical illusion suddenly flips and you see the other image, you finally see the fear clearly instead of the performance you built to hide it.
That moment is the transformation. It's like the story of the man who built his whole life around this one forbidden locked door in his house. All his furniture was arranged to block it. He was convinced something terrible, a monster maybe, was behind it. He called his constant vigilance wisdom.
His whole life shaped by avoiding that door.
Right. But one day, utterly exhausted, he finally just stops fighting it and sits down next to the door. And he realizes there's no lock, no chains, just a handle. And that faint scratching sound he'd always heard, it wasn't a monster. It was his own aliveness, his own stifled potential, knocking from the inside, wanting to be let out. The door was never actually locked. He was locked, trapped by his belief in the lock.
And what's really important there is meeting the fear, opening the door. It doesn't make the fear just evaporate, does it? It's more about integration.
That is the crucial difference, yes. Integration means the fear now belongs. It's part of the whole picture. And when it belongs, it doesn't need to be constantly fought or banished. And so, paradoxically, it stops running the show. Wholeness isn't about achieving some impossible state of fearlessness. It's about integrating all parts of your experience, fear included.
So this whole deep dive really circles back to a core question, maybe a haunting one, for you, the listener, to take away. What are you calling defense in your life right now that might actually be flight, strategic running?
And notice your energy, that exhaustion, that feeling of being numb or stuck. Chances are it's coming from the flight, from the constant effort of holding that glass, not from the feeling itself. When we can find the courage to stop running, stop substituting, the whole perceptual field can start to reorganize itself naturally, just through allowing.
So maybe the next time you feel that familiar pressure building, that urge to put up the wall or explain it away or just bolt, maybe just pause, just for a second.
Yeah.
Offer yourself that moment of perceptual courage. Let the fear become figure. See what happens.
Remember the door, it was never locked. And what's on the other side isn't necessarily guaranteed safety or some final victory. What's on the other side is the breathtaking, sometimes terrifying possibility of aliveness, raw, unarmored, unscripted. That next encounter with vulnerability, it's entirely yours to meet.